Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Tights podcast. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. We're back for another episode after a little bit of a break here, and we'll get into that in a second here, why there's a break and so on and so forth. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Capes and Tights podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and at Capes Tights pod on Twitter. You can read articles and other way more information at capesandtights.com. Check that out. And subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and all your major podcasting platforms to the podcast. So typically, if you followed us for a while there, it's me and my buddy Adam, or we're the co-host. Adam will be back at some point. Again, he started a new job, so it's a little bit difficult going on there. And I was on vacation for a week and came down with COVID, not because of the vacation, but because of a swim class my son went to prior to vacation. So I was out on vacation in New York City for 6 nights, 7 days. And on the last day I was there, my wife and I tested positive for COVID. And my son also, who is 15 months old, got COVID as well. So we've been off now for the duration of this to heal and to quarantine and to make sure we're good. Tested negative this morning. Things are great. I'm feeling better. I just couldn't do it last Monday when we do our recordings. And so we'll have to postpone that one. Speaking of that, we were supposed to have the guys over there at the Granite State Comic and Toy Con, Granite State Comic Con, and to talk about their upcoming event here coming September 16th to the 18th in Manchester, New Hampshire. If you live in New England, check that out. I don't know if we'll be able to reschedule them prior to that event because it is only a couple of weeks away, and I don't want to put the pressure on those dudes who are putting together a 20th anniversary edition of their event. And so we'll try to get them on in the future, maybe talk about the Comic-Con after the Comic-Con is over. But, thank you guys for at least willing to schedule with me, and I'm sorry I had to cancel on you guys due to COVID, but check them out, granitecon.com, and pick up those tickets. They've got a lot of great people there, including like basically the entire creative team for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, including Kevin Eastman, our buddy Ben Bishop, who worked on The Last Ronin, Tom Waltz, the Scorza brothers, and Louis the colorist is going to be there as well, and a bunch of other people, including Kevin Easton, like I mentioned before. So check that out, Manchester, New Hampshire, granitecon.com, September 16th to the 18th of 2022 here. And check that out here in New England if you live in New England or the greater New England area. It's worth attending. It's an amazing Comic-Con, and meet the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles creative team. It's amazing. So again, apologize. We weren't able to get on last week. It's our first missed episode in 56 episodes or such. So we'll be back on it on a regular basis now moving forward. And hopefully Adam will come back at some point here in the near future. So what I wanted to use this episode for is to talk a little bit about my trip to New York City and talk about a little bit about more comic related things. Have some news updates at the end and all kinds of other stuff just going on. So let's just jump right in. So I mentioned I had COVID. That wasn't fun. I don't recommend it for anybody. We're all doing well better in the house. Our family is doing better. My son went back to daycare today for the first time since in almost 2 weeks, over 2 weeks now. But in New York City, we arrived on Saturday a couple weeks ago, and to a hotel. It was amazing, Hotel Beacon, right next to the Beacon Theater on Broadway in the Upper West Side. It was a fun fun older hotel. It's beautiful, nice boutique hotel. It's pretty fun to stay there. We had a nice view and all that stuff. So thanks to the Hotel Beacon staff for an amazing time there. But on Sunday, we walked 11 miles in the city, which was a lot of fun doing that. I like walking around, seeing things. I haven't been in New York City in a long time. And so that was exciting to do. But we walked over the Queensboro Bridge into the Astoria part of Queens to the Museum of the Moving Image. Something I was looking forward to for quite a while now is the Living with the Walking Dead exhibit. So if you listen to this podcast, some big passions of mine are Marvel comic books and The Walking Dead. So I told my wife I really wanted to do this. So we decided to do this on our first day in New York City. And so we walked over the Queensboro Bridge, which is fun and was unique. I don't think I'd ever walk over the bridge again. It's a long walk and a lot of wind and bikes passing and crap like that. So I don't recommend it for anybody, but if you're a walker, biker, rollerblader, scooter, anything like that, it might be worth it. But it's not perfect, I'll tell you that much. I'm gonna get a little sip of coffee here. So We walked over there. It's in a weird spot. Like it's not in a spot that you'd expect to be in. It's a little bit more rural. I'd say rural, but more suburban, I should say. But like there's houses instead of actual buildings, like in New York City, where you see like businesses. You walk right in. It's stark white. The whole place is just white. Beautiful, what you'd expect from a modern museum of art. It's gorgeous. You walk right in, get my tickets. We bought online, and we walked up to the third floor or the top floor and worked our way down. Luckily, the top floor of this Museum of the Moving Image is the Walking Dead experience, living with the Walking Dead, and was really cool. So you got off the elevator and you look straight ahead, and there's this Living with the Walking Dead logo, and a dude sitting there taking your ticket. And on the right wall is just all 193 issues of the comic book, starting with issue number 1, the top right, and going all the way down to issue 193 at the bottom left. It was really cool. I mean, not that it's that rare to see the Walking Dead number 1, but to actually see it on a wall and in person in front of me was really kind of cool, the thing to see. I have 75% of those books, so it's not unusual to see some of those books, but it was cool to see some of the key issues that I don't have and the way they displayed them on the wall. The one thing was weird is none of them were in bags and boards. It was a very interesting way of displaying it. I feel like there is a better way to display it, but you know what? It is what it is, and I got to see them, and it's cool. So just past that, though, you got to see the slippers of the girl walker from the very first episode of The Walking Dead back in 2010. It's the bloody slippers of the girls walking underneath the police car that Rick sees from underneath, and those are there. It's really cool. A little exhibit about that. Just basically the starting of the Walking Dead TV show. To clarify, most of this is actually for the TV show. There is some comic book related things in there. Like I said, they paid respect to the source material by having all 193 issues on the wall, but most of it's for the TV show. It's on AMC. Moving past that into the next room, they have, actually at the end of that room is they don't dead inside, don't enter dead inside thing from the first episode too, when Rick's in the hospital. You walk into the next room, there's Rick, Daryl, Negan, Alpha, Father Gabriel, all their costumes are in a circle at the beginning there. It's really kind of cool to see that. You get to see Lucille, the actual bat from the show. All these are actual screen used props and costumes. Other weapons and things like that from the show are there. There's stuff from Alexandria. There's stuff from Negan's compound. There's stuff all over the place in there, which is really cool. You actually get to see special effects, Greg Nicotero's team's blood and all that stuff. There's cool, like how they do it with those blood puddles. So like if someone were to get smashed in the head with a bat, for example, and they fall over and they shoot that scene and you see the blood puddle on the ground, that's actually like more of an acrylic blood puddle that they can actually pick up and move, which is nice for cleaning up, is what they said, which is really kind of I never even thought about, but it makes sense. And then there was Glenn kneeling when he got smashed in the head by Negan. There's his thing and the special effects they used for that as well as I believe there was Beta's skin mask was there, which is really cool, and a bunch more other special effects. They had some toys and stuff like that. So it was a really cool, in exhibit. It was very intense. There's a lot of walker noises you can hear in the background and so on. There's some video screens that show the clips of where the things were used in the TV show, which is kind of cool. So if you didn't know much about the Walking Dead experience, like if you or your spouse, your friends want to go to this and one of them isn't really into it, they can see the screen used part on a little TV next to the actual prop from the show, which is really kind of cool. So yeah, it was an unbelievable exhibit, and it's in the Museum of the Moving Image until the end of this year. So you have the entire fall and the beginning of the winter to see this in Queens, New York. So if you have the opportunity to get down there, highly recommend it. And on top of that, the Museum of the Moving Image obviously is a museum about movies and TV. So there is cameras and equipment and all that stuff used to make the shows, old school stuff, new school stuff, all that stuff too. There's also props and things from Star Wars, the Muppets, Dark Crystal, and so many more props, pictures, just random stuff from movies, which is really, really cool. It's very, very, very worth the money to go see that. So check that out. The Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, part of Queens, New York. Specifically, check out the Living with the Walking Dead exhibit. You can check that out on the Museum of Moving Image website to get tickets for that too. You have to buy tickets ahead of time, just so you know. It's like a timed entry thing. So, also part of my trip to New York City is I wanted to go to the famous Midtown Comics. They have multiple stores in New York City. I have purchased thousands of dollars worth of comic books from their website, midtowncomics.com. But I told my wife, I was like, we're going to be in New York City. Let's go check out Midtown Comics. So after the Museum of the Moving Image, we went right over to the Astoria outlet they have there. They have 40% off on the day we were there. So it was pretty cool to see that. Small little store. You walk in, again, in a unique part of town. You walk in there, there's some toys and stuff like that. You go downstairs, there's just long boxes and long boxes and long boxes in this pretty small room. Fish through those things. A lot of those things are not actually available on their website, so you have to be there to get them. Was able to find a single issue of Nova that I was looking for, issue 19 from the 2015 series. So I was able to put that in my collection as well, 40% off. I think I paid like $2 for the thing, which is pretty cool. So we got to check that one out in Astoria. A couple days later, we were able to go into Times Square, the original location there in Times Square. It's this back alley. You walk down the hall or the street, and you walk up this back alleyway that's no wider than my desk. It's probably shorter than my desk. And up the stairs to the left, and you go into this, and you walk through a door, and you're like, okay, this is a comic book store. But the way you walk up there, you feel like you're going to some back alley doctor's office to get your liver removed. And it was pretty cool, though. So it's nice to see that. It was a little bigger than my local comic book shop, Galactic Comics and Collectibles here in Bangor, Maine. But it was smaller than I expected it to be. I'll tell you that much. And there's 2 stories on this one. And the first story is the second story of the building. So there's a building below it, obviously. But yeah, it's not as many like wall books or high valued items that I thought there would be. There's a lot of high valued like toys and statues and stuff. But I was looking to see, maybe I drop a few dollars on a nice book that I could only see there. And there wasn't as many. There was a few behind the desk, like the counter, but not as many as I was expecting, and kind of disappointing, but stacks and stacks and stacks of comics, new comics, old comics, and such. So that was fun to see. And then we ended up over at the Grand Central Terminal area. So we ended up hitting up that one as well. That's a single story one on the second floor, similar entrance to it. And I was able to pick up a few back issues there as well. But again, not many expensive, more wall book-ish things. I think they sell a lot more quantity over big ticket items. So I got a mug, though, which is pretty cool. I'm excited for that. And a couple of postcards. It's harder to see, but they're kind of behind me. Over here, there's one that says I survived, and it checks all the boxes off from like when Marvel and things like that take over the city and destroy things, which is pretty cool. So we also got to hit up Forbidden Planet, which is another geek related store that's in more the Lower East Side, and a fun number of statues, toys, and other collectibles that were there. Was pretty cool. A smaller amount of comic books, but was able to find Naughty List #2, which is a book I've been looking forward to reading. And I got to read because I was missing #2. So that was when I was looking for, and found that there. So check out Forbidden Planet 2 also in New York City. So we got some comic book stores in there. We got some, geek related things with the Living with the Walking Dead and Star Wars stuff over at the Museum of Moving Image. But we also got to see Starry Night, the Van Gogh painting, the famous Van Gogh painting, which was amazing. We saw that at the Museum of Modern Art, as well as a few Picassos and some Jackson Pollocks, which was really, really, really cool to see. We got to see the dinosaurs over the dinosaur skeletons over at the American Museum of Natural History off of Central Park. That was a lot of fun. I think that was my favorite part of that museum, was the dinosaur skeletons, which is pretty sweet. But those are like the big things that we did down there. We obviously saw some places where Spider-Man was swinging through and all that stuff, which is really cool. But we also got some amazing food. We got John's Bleecker Pizza, tacos, the best tacos I've ever had in my entire life at Vita Verde. Beer, we got some beer. I love craft beer. So we went to Craft and Carry. That was fun. We got some wine and cheese. It was a lot of fun to be there. The hotel was amazing, like I mentioned. Hotel Beacon, shout out to them. So yeah, if you're a comic book fan and you want to check out Midtown Comics when you're in New York City, it's great. Shop online if you can for them. It's not really worth the traffic and the crowds and all that stuff to be there. If you happen to be in New York City, go to the place. It's fun. It's a classic store. Local comic book shop still has that feel. I got a newfound respect to the idea that they are just LCS. They're bigger than a lot of other people because they sell a lot of comic books online. They have multiple stores. But it was cool when you're in there and you didn't know, if you didn't know how big they were online, you'd think it was just a small LCS, which is pretty cool to see in New York City. So check that out if you end up down there. We were going to stop at a few other stores on the way back, but obviously we got COVID and we basically just hauled ass back to Maine after the trip because of the COVID, and I didn't want to get, I was feeling like crap and all that stuff anyway, so we just came right back. But so that was our trip to New York City in a nutshell. I obviously didn't go into all of the different details, so I wanted to go over some cool stuff about comics and geek culture. Being in New York City is a great place. It's busy. I don't ever think I could live there. I like my rural Maine, but it was fun to visit. We'll go back. I'm excited to go back and see more things there. We also got to go to the Harry Potter store, which is really cool. I love the Harry Potter store. I'm a big NBA fan, so I bought my son a little Ja Morant NBA jersey, a 50-month-old with a little tiny jersey. It's pretty badass. So we're excited to see him wear that. So yeah, New York City was awesome. On the front of other news in the Marvel and DC and geek culture and all that stuff is Matt Shakman will direct the Fantastic Four. Matt Shakman of WandaVision, he directed the episodes of WandaVision, has been tabbed to direct the Fantastic Four. That is after what's his face? No, I had it written down. Backed out of the John Watts backed out of directing it, not wanting to do any comic book related movies anytime soon. So Matt Shakman seems like he'll take over the helm of that one. Exciting, because I think he did a great job with WandaVision. That movie will be the first movie of the phase 6 in 2024. So check that out. We have an article on our website, capesandtights.com, that talks a little bit more about that as well. Thor Love and Thunder will hit Disney Plus on Disney Plus Day, September 8th, as well as the new Pinocchio movie that's going to be out there. Cars on the Road. A couple other things that are heading to Disney Plus on Disney Plus Day, September 8th. That is the Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that is D23. So we'll have some more information following that as well, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. So the following week, we'll probably have an update on things that are announced at D23. Negan and Maggie's show, The Walking Dead show, is now called Walking Dead Dead City. It was tentatively titled Isle of the Dead, but I guess that was just a working title. Now they actually have a name for it, Dead City. Personally, I think Isle of the Dead was better, but we'll see. Can't wait for that to come out. No release date tabbed on that one yet, but Negan and Maggie's show is moving forward with the name Dead City. The first 2 episodes of She-Hulk have been amazing. I think they're fun. 35-minute episodes. They're the more sitcom related. She breaks the fourth wall a couple times. You get to see Hulk, Abomination, a couple other cool stuff. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes. You can check that out on Disney Plus. New episodes every Thursday. My wife and I watched DC League of Super Pets for the first time. It was fun. A lot of good jokes in there, some good humor. Gotta love The Rock and Kevin Hart. That was a great show, great movie. Not too long. Great animation, great jokes. Again, great story. Hoping to see if they make a sequel. We watched Elvis. Elvis was amazing. Got to check that out. When it comes out on streaming, the Elvis movie about some stuff I learned. I mean, I love movies that are about people that I know and I learn new things. So if most of that stuff in that movie was real and truthful, it's exciting to learn those kind of things from the king of rock and roll, Elvis. So you can check that out. Austin Butler did an amazing job as Elvis. Tom Hanks obviously killed it like he does in everything. Lastly, I love this new book. I wanted to give a recommendation for a new book to pick up at your LCS. True Cult #1. So TRV space KVLT, True Cult. It's a comic book put out on IDW. It is a great book. It's fun. It has fast food. It has heists. It has satanic rituals. It's just a fun book. I can't wait. I believe it's a 4-part series. I'm excited for the next issues to come out. We wrote a little review on the website, capesandtights.com, so you can read that more further in there. But it's a story by Scott Bryan Wilson, who did Pennyworth and Batman Annual. Is also with Liana Kangas, who's a Star Wars Adventures and Razor Blades artist, as well as Gab Contreras, who did the colors. She also did Witchblood, and DC Hopkins, the letterer extraordinaire from Noctera and Pennyworth. was the letter on the book as well. So check that out. True Cult #1. Check out your LCS. Hopefully they have an issue left over from a couple weeks ago. It's a great book. Check that out. Our review on capesandtights.com. Other than that, there's a bunch of new news out there, but check out our website, capesandtights.com, for all that. And New York City was fun. News has been great. We're all back. We're back in the swing of things. More posts will be up on the website soon. Adam will hopefully be back in a couple of weeks or next week. We're hopefully going to talk, just to give you a little update on what we're trying to do here. We're getting ready because we're getting ready to Andor's in September. So they're looking forward to that. So we're going to do a movie review of Rogue One to preview Andor and give you guys a little taste on that. We're going to, when Thor Love and Thunder hits Disney Plus on September 8th, we'll try to do a review right after that as well. We have other guests coming up. We're going to do some other Star Wars, like the first episodes, 4, 5, and 6 reviews. We're going to do some more guests. We're going to do a She-Hulk review, Black Panther preview and review, bunch of more stuff coming out. So check us out on Apple and Spotify for the podcast, and at capesandtights.com, at Capes and Tights Podcast on Twitter or Instagram and Facebook, and at Capes Tights Pod on Twitter. So check us out. Thanks everybody for listening. This is a little quick episode here, solo episode talking about New York City and a little bit of news. And make sure you check out next week for a new episode on capesandtights.com. Thanks, everybody. I'm Justin Soderberg. You can follow me at JM Soderberg on Twitter and at The Great Justin on Instagram. Peace.